today. We're going to do it on top of the stove instead of the oven. This is a small roast. It's just over 2 pounds, so it's only going to take maybe about an hour and a half to do the whole thing. I'm going to serve it with some mashed potatoes, so I've already peeled those. I have them in a pot on the stove ready to boil. Let's go over our ingredients. Obviously, you're going to need a roast. This is a sirloin tip roast, and that's why I'm choosing to do it on the top of the stove. Just seems to cook better, especially because it's so small. We're going to add to it some onions. We're going to have some celery, carrots, mushrooms, some garlic. I have some beef broth here, and you certainly don't have to use beef broth. You could use water, or you can also use red wine. I personally prefer red wine. A Chianti is nice, but I don't have any wine today, so beef broth is going to be just fine. Also, canned tomatoes, like about 14 ounces. I prefer a larger cut, so you could do a stewed, a sliced, or a chopped tomato. I wouldn't use a petite because it's probably going to cook down into the sauce. We're going to season our beef. That's how we're going to start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to salt it. And we want to give it lots of good seasoning to start because this is what's going to flavor the meat, and we're going to season in layers. We're also going to season our vegetables. Go ahead and flip that over, add a little more salt, some pepper. Okay, and I like to do all sides of it since this has a nice wide side on here. Okay, and then a little pepper. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some flour on this and rub it into it, and we're going to take it over to our pan and we're going to put a nice brown on it, so when it comes out it'll just have that really nice dark caramel look on it. So we're just going to sprinkle on some flour and just rub it in just like you would any other meat rub. We're going to flip it over and get the other side. This side. Don't be afraid to just kind of pack it on there. It's going to make for a nice crust, and then the flour that ends up coming off of it during the cooking time is going to go into all these ingredients, and it's just going to make this nice thick gravy sauce. Okay, that's all ready to go. We're going to go ahead, get over to the stove, and get started. Okay, I've got the burner on medium here, and my pan is preheated, and I've got a little olive oil on the bottom, and just going to add a little bit more. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sear the roast on all sides. Hear it sizzling there? That's what it should sound like. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. I'd like to even hear just a little more sizzle. We're going to let it get a good brown on this side. Then we're going to flip it over. We're going to do all sides. And then we're going to take it out to rest, and we're going to get started on our vegetables. Okay, we're getting a nice brown on our roast. Going to turn it over onto the third side here, and then one more to go after that. Hear how it's keeping up with the sizzle. I'm actually even just going to turn it up just a little bit. You want it to sear it, you know, you want it to give it a nice brown and sort of seal it so all the juices will stay on the inside. I've also got all my other ingredients here. Oops. You might have to hold it in place a little bit with your tongs if you have a weird shaped roast and it doesn't want to lay flat for you. Okay, we're done searing our roast, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the pan. You can see it's nicely browned on all sides, and I'm just going to put it here on the plate to rest. Some of those flour bits have fallen into the pan, so that's nice and toasty. So to the we're going to add our onions and our celery. And you can kind of turn your heat down to medium now. We don't want to sear the vegetables, just the meat. Okay, we don't even have to cook these very much. I just want them to pick up that flavor from the bottom of the pan and just sort of start to soften. To this, we're also going to add our carrots. Noisy carrots. Now, I'm using baby carrots. You don't have to use baby carrots. You can buy big ones and cut them up to whatever size you like. I just happen to have baby carrots in the fridge, so that's why I chose them. Don't like to waste food. Lots of hungry people out there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic now that my heat has come down a little bit. Just want to be careful not to burn that. I'm leaving my garlic full. While this roasts and sits in this pan, it's going to let all that flavor out into all the vegetables and meat. Okay, this has still got kind of a high sizzle. I'm going to turn it down even a little bit more. Now I'm going to add some salt and pepper. Like I said earlier, we're going to season it in layers. Oh, beautiful. Okay, we're gonna let this go for maybe about 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll be back to throw our roast in. Okay, I think our vegetables are ready. They're absolutely gorgeous. You can see that the brightness is starting to come out in them. So I'm just gonna sort of spread them out evenly in the pan, and then we're going to put the roast right in on top of them, and just sort of make a well for it there. We're gonna go ahead and add our mushrooms. You can use any kind of mushrooms you like. I'm just using white mushrooms. I've quartered them. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my beef stock. If you're using wine, you can also put that in at this time. That quieted things down a bit. All right, and then to that, we're going to add our tomatoes. Just pour the whole can in there. And just kind of move them around, you know, to the side. Make sure they're not all on top of the meat so that all those great juices will cook together in the vegetables. I'm going to add just a little bit of dried rosemary and just a little pinch of dried thyme. Now, if normally I would use a whole raw sprig, but I didn't have any today, and I kind of live out in the country, didn't want to drive all the way to town just for spices, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a pinch in to give them a hint, because thyme and rosemary liven up meat like nothing else. So I don't want to be chewing a whole bunch of it. So since it's dried, like I said, I'm just going to put in a little hint. Okay, we're going to go ahead, put a little more pepper on this. And now we're going to turn it down to low simmer. And we're going to put the lid on. And we're going to let this go 20 minutes per pound. My roast is just over 2 pounds, so I'm going to actually divide that in half. That's 40 minutes. So after about 20 minutes, I'm going to come remove the lid. I'm going to flip the roast over. We want to make sure it's cooking evenly on both sides at all times. Okay, my timer just went off. It's been about 20 minutes, and I've had this, I have an electric stove, and I've had it at 4, which is about medium-low. If you have gas stove, you probably want to turn it down to the very lowest setting. Oh, look at that beautifulness. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're just going to flip it over so it cooks evenly on the other side. It's looking gorgeous in here. Okay. And now we'll go ahead and put the lid back on. I'm going to set my timer for another 20 minutes, and I'll see you soon. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left on the other side now that we've flipped it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my potatoes started. I'm also going to heat a small pan of about 1/2 cup of milk and about 1/4 to 1/2 stick of butter for my mashed potatoes, which is what I'm going to serve with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. When we come back, this should be ready to take the lid off and condense the fluids, and then we will be able to mash our potatoes. Okay, we're back. And we have gone the full 20 minutes on the other side, so I'm going to pull the lid off here now. Look at that steam. Woo! And look at that gorgeousness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my heat up a little. I'm going to turn it to about medium-high, right around 6 on an electric stove. I'm going to continue to condense this, let some of the liquid cook off, and this is the part where it's just going to become a gorgeous gravy. I'm just going to give it a little stir here. Mix those vegetables together. Look at those beautiful mushrooms. Looks good. All right, I will finish the potatoes, which are now just kind of starting to boil, and we will be back and we will put this all together. Okay, this has been condensing for about 15 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip the roast over and let it condense for another 15 minutes. This is going to allow it to cook evenly on both sides. Okay, our pot roast is on the stove and it is still simmering. It's reducing the liquid right now, and our potatoes are done, so we're going to go ahead and mash them. Woo, hot. Okay, we're just going to pour them into our mixing bowl here. And I've warmed up some milk and some butter, like I said earlier. And we're going to go ahead and put on our whisk here and just start a slow mash on those. Okay, now that I have them broke up a little bit, I'm going to slowly start to pour my butter and milk in a stream. The reason I heated it up is because if you leave it cold, it might make your potatoes change texture and they'll sort of have a little gritty texture to them instead of being a nice fluffy smooth potato. Okay, turn that up a little bit and I'm just going to kind of push the stuff on the edges in there. If you do this while it's running, be very, very careful. I don't recommend it. You can destroy your mixer. Ooh, that bowl is hot. Alright, going to turn it up a little bit. I think it needs just a little more butter and milk. Okay, we're back and our roast is all done. We have some beautiful vegetables in the pan here, which I'll show you in a little bit. We have our garlic mashed potatoes that we made earlier. I've been slicing up this roast. I've let it rest for about 10 minutes. If you cut into it too soon, all your juices are going to run out of it. So we're just going to go ahead and slice up a serving here. Alright, and we'll go ahead and plate it because of course I have to taste it. We have our yummy mashed potatoes. And we're just going to put them in the bowl there and we're just going to make a nice little well in the middle. And in that well, we're going to place our meat, our roast. Go ahead and put an extra one in there because this one's for my husband and I know he's going to want more. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and scoop some of these gorgeous vegetables on top. Look at how beautiful they turned out. Make sure to get some gravy in there so you have some good moisture. And there we go. Alright. Grab a fork and a knife here. Take a quick taste. Get some potatoes. A little bit of vegetable. I want to taste all the flavors. Delicious. You could taste all the vegetables. That little hint of thyme and rosemary in there is wonderful. It would be even stronger if I used fresh. This is delicious. My husband's going to be home any minute and we're going to have dinner. I hope that when you make it, you enjoy it as much as I am. I thank you for joining me today. You can find me on YouTube at The Hungry Soul. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. You can like me on Facebook, send me a tweet. I would love to hear from you and I'd love to hear your recipe suggestions.